Michaela Vernava, joined on the line by Jason Jones, Kings beat writer for the Sacramento Bee. Jason, I'm very excited to talk with you today, given everything that went down after the All-Star game on Sunday night, the trade that really shook the NBA, DeMarcus Cousins to the New Orleans Pelicans. I first just want to start off getting your reaction to this move and specifically to what the Kings got in exchange for Cousins.
Just kind of first off, it's kind of a stunning, shocking move just because the Kings have been so adamant. I mean, to the point of going public with saying they weren't going to trade DeMarcus, but, sometimes I guess when you say you're not going to do it, that probably means you are. And just looking at what they got back, it was assumed they would get more. I was just talking to someone the other day. They had said if Boston offers that Brooklyn pick, they have to make a trade, right? And so everyone kind of assumed that they were going to move DeMarcus for something of that type of high value. And to get back what they got back, essentially this trade is for Buddy Hield and a first-round pick that's, top three protected. So you're looking at possibly getting a middle-round, first-round pick in Buddy Hield, who knows what he may be in a few years. I don't know anybody who thinks Buddy Hield is going to be a player in the caliber of DeMarcus Cousins. So they pretty much, in essence, gave him away.
So given the way this all played out and the shock value that came along with it, do you think that this is revealing of what's going on in the Kings front office?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there has never been a united front on what to do with DeMarcus. 2 years ago, the team looked at moving him to the Lakers. That didn't happen. The majority owner of Vivek Vive had been adamant that he was not going to part with DeMarcus, which pretty much made the idea of him being traded and talking about useless. So you had people who maybe thought it was a good idea to trade him. Others who were like, you don't trade a talent like this, especially one who wants to be in Sacramento. So there was a lot of back and forth about which way to go. And people who had been there before had even told me that Ron Vive had been told 2 years ago, if you're going to trade DeMarcus, you got to trade him while his value is at its highest. The longer you hold on to him, the less you'll get for him. And they could have gotten the number 2 pick in the draft for him 2 years ago. And that probably would have, for them, ended up being Kristaps Porzingis. So I don't know anybody in the NBA who would rather have Buddy Hield over Porzingis, but hey, that's where the Kings are right now.
So given what they got in return for Cousins, you tweeted that trading Cousins is a culture change for the Kings. What kind of change do you think they're looking to bring about by making this move?
They're trying to kind of, in essence, the perception has always been that DeMarcus essentially ran the franchise, and it's almost like a way of proving, well, no, he doesn't. We weren't going to turn over our franchise to him. He doesn't run this place. And they want to get, I guess, ideally get to this notion of it's kind of hard to even verbalize what they're trying to do because there's sometimes they know exactly what they're trying to do, but the key word they are using, they want to be more professional. They want a more professional environment. They don't want any kind of, outside noise, nonsense, those type of things. So, you're not going to have some of the extra stuff that you have with DeMarcus as far as the technicals and it's kind of just that over the top emotion that he's played with on the court. But you're also not going to have that talent, and you're not going to be able to go out and free agency and get a talent like that. So there's definitely a give and take, but now for them, it's got to be about trying to get the draft right, which they really haven't done. And outside of DeMarcus and Isaiah Thomas, who of course they didn't keep, they haven't gotten the draft right much in the last 10 years.
So what do they do now? Is their plan, do you think, to just start from scratch, go back to the drawing board and start the rebuild process all over again?
Yeah, the rebuilding process they can't seem to get out of. Yeah, because now, they're on a wave Matt Barnes, so that's another veteran they brought in. Part of their let's try to win now approach. He'll be gone. They'll probably look to move a guy like Darren Collison, guys like Aaron Aflalo, Ben McLemore, pretty much any veteran on this team that could be gone by Thursday's trade deadline. And then you're going to have a bunch of young guys. Now you're asking the coach, Dave Yeager, whose reputation has never been developing young players, to develop a bunch of young players. So, I mean, this is going to be really interesting how this whole thing even meshes because, yeah, it's going to be interesting because I don't think, Yeager stand up. He knew it was going to be a process. He also knew that he thought that process was going to have DeMarcus Cousins was part of it. I don't think he figured the process would have. Who knows? I mean, there's no way to tell what the team is going to look like in a couple of days.
So we'll have to stay tuned to see what happens with the Kings. But now, as for Cousins, when you discuss the possible culture change they're looking to bring about now is getting rid of him because you said, that he felt or it was perceived that he ran the team, possibly some just questions surrounding behavior and attitude, things like that. Those were part of the discussion here in Boston for the past, I don't even know how long, because Cousins' name has been in the trade rumor mill for so long, and at least amongst media, those were major concerns about, in speculation of bringing him here, would it create a bad culture with the Boston Celtics? So now, looking at him going to the New Orleans Pelicans, how do you see Cousins fitting in to their culture?
I think he'll be fine. I think a lot of the issues you saw with DeMarcus were honestly more related to the fact the Kings culture is messed up above him. I mean, I liken it to if you have a child and the parents aren't around, the parents relax on the rules and kind of let things go. What do you expect the children to do? They're going to act up. And I think that the culture of Sacramento was not conducive to putting parameters on what was good and what was bad. I mean, you look at what happened this year. DeMarcus gets into it with some reporters. I mean, essentially the front office people are like, maybe if it's a public front, they're laughing about it. Like, oh, yeah, whatever. We'll just fine him. I mean, so who do it's kind of the chicken or the egg thing, who do you blame? It's easy to blame DeMarcus, say, well, he's this, he's that. But there's a lot of issues they've got to fix internally as far as their culture above, in the front office and how they approach the draft and drafting better. And they got a lot, DeMarcus didn't pass on Klay Thompson to take him for that. That wasn't DeMarcus' call. DeMarcus didn't pass on Damian Lillard or Andre Drummond or Harrison Barnes to take Thomas Robinson. Those weren't DeMarcus Cousins' problem.
So, and you have covered Cousins his entire career, so I imagine you know him pretty well and know what kind of player, what kind of guy he is. Can you speak to that and just what you know of him, of his character, that reasons you don't think he'll have an issue now going to New Orleans and joining a team with Anthony Davis and how he'll do down there?
He is fiercely competitive. He hates losing. He really wants to win. And a lot of the issues I think you saw with him on the court had a lot to do with the fact that he wasn't winning, and he was trying to figure out what do I need to do to win. And knowing him and knowing that how he likes to be coached, I mean, there's this perception that DeMarcus hates being coached hard. That's not really true. DeMarcus loves John Calipari, and John Calipari was hard on him. But what DeMarcus values is people who are going to be upfront with him and be honest with him. And I think going into this, if New Orleans is going to be upfront with him, have to know what their plan is, and just be straight with him. I think he'll be fine. I think the issues a lot of times you saw with Sacramento were they were saying one thing and not following through. Or, example, they tell DeMarcus they're not going to hire George Karl, and then all these leaks come out of Sacramento that they can't hire George Karl because of DeMarcus after they told him they weren't going to hire him. So when you got stuff like that going on, it just creates tension. And I think if there is stuff with DeMarcus, he'll fall in line, he'll play hard, and he'll do his best to help them get to the playoffs.
So do you think that DeMarcus is the biggest winner in all of this, to have a chance to go start fresh in New Orleans? And
yeah, definitely. I think DeMarcus, the Kings were the only NBA team DeMarcus knew, and that's a big reason why DeMarcus didn't want to leave. He loved the city, he loved the fans. There were a lot of fans who kind of wanted to see him go. DeMarcus loved that community. So, but I think he'll look back at this and say, you know what, for the betterment of his game, his career as a whole, he had to get out of Sacramento just because with everything else that's going on there, just trying to get the ownership and questions about the front office and the constant coaching changes, it's hard for any young player to succeed there. I mean, he succeeded, in spite of all that. But a lot of people always tell me that's why people don't want their young players going to Sacramento. It's just not a good environment for player development, player growth, and the culture doesn't help guys get better.
So you see DeMarcus's career trajectory trending up now from here on out, if you had to predict?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, his numbers may not, obviously you're playing next to Anthony Davis, you can't have the same numbers, but he'll be in a situation where he knows it's all about winning. I think Alvin Gentry will be a good coach for him. Alvin will get on him, which will be good for him. And I just think that getting away from everything else in Sacramento, where so much was blamed on him, things that were out of it, he definitely had his part in why they weren't successful. But the level of blame some folks put on him was just really unfair to him. Like I said, they brought so many other things around him. It's hard to say it was all just his fault.
All right, Jason, I really appreciate your analysis while everyone's digesting the aftershocks of this major trade that was very shocking. Really appreciate you breaking down everything. Thanks so much for talking with us.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.